Hey there and welcome back to XCOM 2. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Legend Ironman walkthrough of XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. In the last episode we made good progress towards several achievements and actually also unlocked the Stop Hitting Yourself achievement. After 43 episodes we have finally obtained our very first turret wreckage, and today we will begin things just the way we finished them last time, with a brief visit to the black market. Before we can get going though, we are presented with another rumor for alien alloys. Very intriguing, but for now let's stick to the plan.
Avenger plotting new course.
Market is open.
Now we're just stopping by here to correct a small mistake I made last time. There is absolutely no reason to hold on to a regular laser sight if we also have 3 superior ones, and that's not even counting the 4th one currently attached to one of our storm guns. So, with that taken care of, it's time to build another radio relay today.
Setting course for Brazil.
This one will not only help us obtain the South American continent bonus, but it will also be our gateway into North America, where, as you can see, we actually have 2 Advent facilities waiting to be destroyed. Just as we start construction then, Battlefield Medicine is unlocked in the Proving Ground, and that means all of our medikits, or rather the one that we actually have now been improved. With each application they can now heal 2 hit points more, and who knows when that might come in handy. Now at this point, since we have 8 Illyrium cores lying around, let's pump out a few more experimental ammos. There are 2 that we have not yet unlocked and I'm hoping for at least one of them here. Dragon rounds unfortunately we already have, and the same is true for Venom rounds. So let's give this one more attempt before we switch to something else. And indeed, that now unlocks what I wanted to see, Talon rounds. With a 20% bonus to crit chance and 1 point of extra damage on critical hits, these are incredibly useful for classes like the Ranger, allowing them to basically always get criticals on flanking shots, especially if paired with something like a superior laser sight. Now, up next we'll spend 1 more core to unlock an experimental grenade.
Sounds good, Commander. I'll let you know as soon as the project is ready for deployment.
I know that I mentioned in an earlier episode that I'm not really fond of these, and that has not changed. Still, for the sake of completion, I suppose we'll want to obtain them all too. And with that we can continue scanning, albeit not for long.
Enjoy this brief distraction, Commander, for I am sure far greater challenges still lie ahead.
Commander, the aliens are still moving forward on the Avatar project. Taking out that facility would deal a serious blow to their efforts.
And yes, unfortunately there was no way to counter this dark event, so the Avatar project progress bar rises again, albeit only by 1 point, which I think is no cause for concern just yet.
In my quest to be the Elder's favored child, even I must resort to the deceptive tactics of my enemy.
And just like that, we also have to suffer through a chosen sabotage. This time Engineer Clegane's shell is put out of action for 13 days, but I believe he was not actually assigned anywhere, so this does not hurt us too much.
The Chosen aren't afraid to resort to sabotage tactics if it means slowing down our efforts. We need to work to prevent these attacks before they catch up with us.
And indeed, the engineer assignments here look exactly the way they did at the start of the episode. I had briefly thought that Clegane might have been assigned to the infirmary, but after checking the footage it turns out he was not, so again we don't really lose out on anything here.
We are victorious, and the cause is advanced.
And there we are, with the next covert operation completed. As a result, Specialist Van Dyke has slightly improved his hacking skill, but more importantly, we have just obtained the Inside Knowledge Resistance Order.
All skirmishers, all those freed from the Elder's bonds, are eager to hear your orders, Commander.
And yes, the effect of Inside Knowledge will be noticeable quite soon, I think. This effectively increases the level of all weapon attachments by 1 tier, and it does extend to superior attachments too. Now, as always, that brings up the question of what to do next, and I think I have an easy answer for this one. I think it's time that we start making progress on the Warlock. Not because we desperately need to take him out right away, but raising faction influence with the Templars might be useful, not to mention that one of the rewards here is also a mobility increase. So let's give that to our Templar Logan, who will be accompanied on this mission by his bondmate Oscar Zucchini Zolaire, as well as by sharpshooter Smoo B. All of them have been equipped just in case we're facing an ambush on this one. And so let's send them out for the next 10 days to start hunting the Warlock.
Understood, Commander. My followers will appreciate the support of your soldiers.
And with that, let's keep scanning. We only have a few more days to go until our radio relay is fully operational. Let's see if anything else pops up in the meantime.
Reading you loud and clear.
That does not seem to be the case, however, and as a result we now unlock the Volunteer Army Continent bonus. We've had something similar as a resistance order a while back. On every single mission there is now a chance that we will be joined by a random resistance soldier. Admittedly though, at this point in the game they won't be too useful. Now up next we will make contact for cheap with New Mexico. This is very important as the Advent facility in here will be a lovely emergency option.
Chosen Warlock is hard at work for his masters in this area.
New regional contacts located.
And yes indeed, we can now assault an alien facility that has already contributed 4 points of progress to the Avatar project, which means that destroying it will also remove those 4 points. We are not going to do that just yet, however. Instead, let us begin scanning for something that we've had on the map for quite some time. I think it's time that we investigate the triangulated position.
Avenger plotting new course.
As you might be aware, this map location is part of the Alien Hunters DLC. It was put here accompanied by a message from someone who might very well have been Dr. Valen, although as you can also see in the bottom right corner, we will not be able to finish scanning it before the end of the month.
Priority message coming through, Commander. Putting it on screen now.
You have made considerable progress against the aliens over the past month, Commander. I hope that your ongoing efforts will only lead to further success.
And yes indeed, once again the list of resistance activities is once again towering over the list of alien activities. We are indeed making very good progress, and I think it is safe to say that at this point in the game we are firmly in control. Still, we are not done just yet, as we still have 2 Chosen left to deal with, one of which is training, the other currently planning a sabotage. That also means that for a change we only have 3 dark events to worry about. The first 2 here we already know from the last monthly report. Meanwhile, the hidden event turns out to be Viper rounds. This would give some Advent soldiers poisonous rounds for 1 month. Admittedly something I'm not really too worried about, so with the next guerrilla ops I think we'll have some flexibility.
If there are orders you would have us follow, Commander, tell us what must be done.
My people are up for some additional work if you've got any orders for us, Commander.
Now, having received 2 new resistance orders, I think it's time we apply at least one of them. Extra resistance contact doesn't make much sense until we can get at least 1 more. Inside knowledge, however, will be applied immediately, replacing inside job. At least for the moment, I would like to hold on to both vulture and weak points, although the former will most likely be replaced sooner or later too.
My kind will obey.
And there we go, 1055 supplies are added to our funds, and with that we can keep scanning, which brings us to the completion of our first experimental grenade project, which gives us an incendiary grenade, basically a grenade that inflicts burning, so nothing that Talon rounds couldn't solve either, and the damage output is also somewhat underwhelming, at least in War of the Chosen, where the damage was actually reduced.
Commander, we have the position of a vulnerable UFO that's set down in this region. If we move fast, there's a chance we could recover a nice haul of supplies and equipment.
Alright, looks like in episode 44 there are still new things to discover, because this month, instead of a supply raid, we have a landed UFO. It has landed in Warlock territory, that means an encounter is guaranteed. Apart from that, we will run into 12 additional enemies, but nothing too terrifying. So let's fly over there and take them all out.
Setting course for Sector 4, Chile.
And yes, this mission is in fact classified as a type of supply raid, so completing it will reward us with plenty of materials. Now, before we embark, let's purchase 1 more bonus from the GTS. We are swimming in supplies, and so let's grab biggest booms for our grenadiers. The Warlock has a weakness against explosive damage, but being able to score critical hits with them is always going to be useful. And so, this right here then our squad for this mission. No Templar because Logan is on a covert operation, and also no Reaper either, but we have Ranger Louis Mignot who will serve as a scout, and we also have a battle scanner on Mox who has not been with us for quite some time, and who I think deserves a bit of action. Thanks to the Inside Knowledge Resistance Order, we are also even more powerful than usual. I think Tsunami here is a good candidate to illustrate that. Her Darklands, with 4 superior weapon attachments now providing bonuses of 4 or 20%, 1 point or 5 percentage points higher than a regular superior grade attachment. And this is true for everyone in our squad who's sporting them, which at this point is actually everyone, so this should be fun.
Ranger deployed.
Menace, ready to deploy.
The Resistance has been making moves against the aliens in this area, and it looks like they managed to disable a UFO on the ground. We're moving in to secure the site. Eliminate any hostile resistance and seize whatever gear you can from that ship. Menace 1-5, UFO site coordinates locked in. Move to secure the area, neutralize all hostiles.
Alright, so here we are with our first alien UFO mission. The task here is actually quite simple. All we need to do to complete this mission is to eliminate all enemies on the map, and apparently helping us to do that is Rachel Campbell. So the South American continent bonus here immediately gives us a free soldier for this mission. And with that, let's get to it. Since we have concealment, Praetor Mox scouts ahead and immediately detects a Spectre and a Sectoid. Nothing that we can't handle, I think. But for this turn at least, we'll dash with everyone. We have concealment, so overwatches would be of little use. Our enemies then moving around, but not too much. This position right here keeps them well within our striking range, and considering that there's only 2 of them, I see no point in hesitating. In the background though, maybe you have noticed it, a door inside of the UFO has just opened, so we probably have more enemies close by, not to mention 2 chrysalids who have just burrowed down, so we'll want to keep their rough locations in mind too. As we move up with our Ranger MiG, then we spot who was coming through the door, a part of Advent soldiers, Trooper, Lancer and Priest, so as we now begin to launch our attack, we want to stay out of their sight range. And we will begin things with Specialist Van Dyke, who has blue screen rounds equipped, and who's got a guaranteed hit against the Spectre. Now, at this point, we break concealment with everyone but Ranger Mignot. Our enemies meanwhile seek cover, but I'm still pretty sure that we will be able to take them out. Thanks to plenty of aim bonuses, Grenadier QT here still has a 76% against the Spectre in full cover. That hits, but does not quite get her the kill. Let's hope that Tsunami is a bit more successful targeting the Sectoid. Despite half cover, the shot here is almost guaranteed to hit. And it connects and even unlocks her another ability point, which now brings us to Julian, who is once again in charge of collecting as many kills as possible.
Observe how it's done.
Alright, and there we are. 2 enemies down, 10 more to go. The next 3 are already in range, and who knows, they might just come closer, so let's overwatch.
I'm on it.
You have been judged.
Right, now that we are revealed, the Warlock appears on the scene. This only our second encounter, and once again we want to make sure to be very strategic about it, as Planewalker and Revenge are both very annoying traits, and we also don't have a Templar.
And I am your punishment.
Commander, one of the Chosen is here. We'll have to deal with it before it throws off the rest of our operation. Menace 1-5, we just picked up an outbound signal coming from the UFO. It's some kind of distress beacon. You need to get inside that ship and shut down the signal before they send their whole fleet after us.
How long did you think you could hide?
Right, and one more result of us being revealed now, the UFO has activated a distress beacon, and unless we deactivate it within the next 4 turns, it will spawn in reinforcements. Now, depending on the situation, this might not always be such a bad thing. Keep in mind that reinforcements means extra soldiers and that means extra experience. Still, for now, let's deal with the enemies that are already present, and we'll do that by deploying Mox's Battle Scanner, a device that will not only reveal units hidden in the fog of war, but it will actually also force hidden chrysalids to unburrow. Alright, and so here we are. Not only do we now have a clear location of the Advent pod, but we also know where the chrysalid is, and most importantly, having now emerged, it can no longer ambush us. And that means we can safely move up a bit, first with Tsunami, then with Ranger Mignot, and even though I had hoped for this to be enough to give Tsunami squad sight on the chrysalid, it apparently does not. So instead, let's have her fire at the trooper here. With just a little luck, this should be a one-shot kill. Alright, and that is in fact a kill, at least technically. By setting the trooper on fire, they are now guaranteed to take some damage at the beginning of their next turn, which means at this point we only have to worry about Priest and Lancer.
Ah, the open spaces, the fresh air.
And so, after moving up with Julian, let's try to skull mine the priest. After all, they are still missing on our list, and if this succeeds, it would be an instant kill. Alright, so with that we can already mark off the priest. Let us now hope that the intel cache succeeds too. At 80% the odds could be worse. Unfortunately though, it looks like they are not quite good enough, and so while we do get the kill here, Van Dyke will now suffer a few points of damage.
Kontrolle nicht erlangt! For every fallen child of the Elders, humanity will repay a tally in flesh!
Alright, 4 points of damage on our specialist. I think we can live with that. Implacable still triggers and allows us to move him back a bit, while we actually move forward with QT to lay down fire against the Lancer. And that connects, which means Julian can now clean things up, although with a 99%er you can never be sure. And there we go, that's 4 enemies defeated, a 5th one will follow shortly. Let us now go on Overwatch just in case the chrysalid comes closer. That chrysalid, however, does not look like it's getting any closer anytime soon, so on the next turn we should most likely be able to take it out. The Warlock, meanwhile, doing what he does best, dropping in Psy zombies right on top of us. Unfortunately, all of them right next to Ranger Mignot, who now gets himself revealed as a result. Also, we see a quick camera pan into the UFO, not quite sure what that was about. Either way, our Ranger quickly takes revenge, and just like that, the Psy zombies' numbers have been reduced to 2. Resistance Soldier Campbell, meanwhile, is not quite as successful with her reaction shot, and so it looks like we'll begin our next turn with 2 Psy zombies left standing, one of which will of course also arm itself for the Spectral Rupture, so we want to be extra careful when killing them.
You will make a fitting sacrifice for the Elders.
Alright, so despite our Ranger reveal, this is very much still a manageable situation. We also still have 3 turns left to deactivate the distress beacon, and so let's get to it. Let's get Adalyn out of harm's way and then take aim at the chrysalid. At the very least, this will draw it in closer.
Deflection!
Or, well, it does not, in which case Julian is once again tasked with cleanup. Moving on, we can then take out one of the 2 remaining Psy zombies with Grenadier QT. And afterwards make the mistake of reconcealing our Reaper with 1 more zombie still left standing. A complete and utter waste of a very useful ability. I think I still need to get used to the fact that the Ranger's detection radius is quite a bit larger than that of the Reaper. Still, let's move him up a bit, and let's do so with the rest of the squad too. And once everyone has safely been moved out of the explosion zone, we can give Van Dyke the signal to take out the last Psy zombie. One more implacable move and then we end our turn on Overwatch. After all, we are still only halfway through the enemy force. The enemy turn does remain uneventful though, and so does the Warlocks. And so let's make our way closer to the UFO.
I'll comply for now.
I wouldn't mind getting a closer look at their flight computer. Ours could probably use some updates.
Do your new compatriots know of your many crimes against them in service to the Elders? Do they truly understand what you have done to humanity?
After a few more lines of dialogue, then everyone is in position, and we can end the turn as usual on Overwatch. Once again then, neither aliens nor Warlock make any moves, and so let us now approach the distress beacon, which thankfully is not surrounded by enemies, and so we can now move in with Specialist Van Dyke.
The power supply on this ship is likely to be a newer variation of the Illyrium core driving the Avengers systems.
Once Shen has then marveled about the ship's power supply, we can hack the workstation. Again, we could also postpone this to spawn enemy reinforcements for extra experience points, but keep in mind that that would also increase the rate at which our soldiers tire, so instead let's shut down the beacon right here and now and delay the next dark event by 2 weeks too. Not only is that the guaranteed reward, but considering our funds, also the better one.
Ich probiere es. Haben Zugriff.
We've knocked out the alien distress signal. Looks like the skies are quiet.
Alright, and that means from here on out we can take this mission at our own pace. However, if you've paid attention, you may have noticed that it's been 3 turns since the Warlock last summoned his spectral zombies, and so it might be a good idea to finish this turn on Overwatch before we move up any further.
Scanning! The weapons of the Chosen are sacred objects. We fight for the glory of the Elders. I am Paul.
Right, there we go. Not only has the chrysalid re-emerged, but we also have zombies incoming. Let's see if we're able to take them all out.
La cible est morte. C'est obligé.
Only the best.
You know that was good.
Alright, lovely. No more zombies, so let's keep moving.
I go as ordered.
Looks like our remaining enemies are doing a good job hiding themselves, so let's deploy another battle scanner, this time to the other side of the UFO. And that reveals surprisingly little. Might be that the UFO's walls are blocking the signal, or that our enemies are in fact all standing elsewhere. So let's move into position to open the doors on our side of the ship on the next turn. For now, we simply go on Overwatch just in case.
Cleanse this world in the name of the Elders. It is nearly time for atonement.
Our enemies, meanwhile, do remain incredibly passive though. That is also one of the downsides of the Warlock. He doesn't really do much to engage. So let's open some doors here and see what's behind them. Right, nothing. That is surprising somehow. In which case, let's grapple Mox onto the UFO. Maybe he's got a better vantage point from up there.
Yes, Commander. The great commander of Earth Resistance returns to the field of battle after serving my masters so very well for so many years. Come, show me why the Elders favor you so.
That's the Elder's Warlock. All reports indicate he's nearly as dangerous as they are when it comes to psionic capabilities.
Right, looks to me like we have finally found what we were looking for. 2 enemies in the Archon and the Codex over here, and crucially also the Warlock with 50 hit points and 4 points of armor. And to further illustrate my point about the sometimes a bit underwhelming nature of the Warlock, he is actually going to be our lowest priority target. Instead, after grappling Tsunami onto the ship, we are now moving in with our Ranger to flank the Codex. And as you can see, thanks to Talon rounds, we now have a guaranteed critical here. So from here on out, Codexes will no longer be that difficult to deal with.
There will be a reckoning for all of your offenses against the Elders, Commander.
Right then, turning our attention over to the Archon, we will begin things with a free Whiplash from Mox. It's basically a 50-50 shot, but it's free. And surprisingly, it does actually connect, which means we can now follow it up with a regular shot. And since the Archon is now on fire, 9 points of damage from Julian's strike module will be enough for the kill. Let's see if he can hit it at 78%. Well, I suppose he's got to have at least one of those permission. Good thing we have Tsunami standing by with a pistol shot ready to go. Unfortunately though, the Archon dodges, but we can simply fire again, and at this distance the pistol is more accurate than the Darklance. And that leaves only the Warlock, who does have the nasty habit of teleporting after taking damage, an ability though that does not extend to reaction shots from Overwatch, so let's activate a few of those to end our turn here and see what that can do.
Covering now. I've got eyes on an admin position. They're moving.
Right, looks like we'll need those reaction shots for something else, as a Codex and a Shield Bearer have just appeared. Apparently though, that's no problem for Specialist Van Dyke, who immediately kills the Codex in a single shot. And to make matters even more interesting, the chrysalid from the other side of the ship also appears now, although it also quickly vanishes out of sight again.
Witness the depths of madness.
Damn it, one of our soldiers is down. They're vulnerable to the Chosen's attacks in that state. Get them back on their feet ASAP.
And this is part of the reason why I think the Warlock is not as immediately threatening. Yes, a 6-turn daze on Mox is nothing to laugh about, but it doesn't do any damage and it can be quickly removed.
Okay, Shive.
Before we do that, however, let's take care of the Warlock's teleporting ability. A Frost Bomb will completely shut that down, as well as the Revenge trait, giving us an entire turn to just fire away. And so, with the Warlock now frozen, let's begin. First of all, I moved in with Julian, only to realize that sparks cannot revive dazed soldiers, but luckily we also have Tsunami close by, and she can.
Get up and get back out there.
Afterwards then, we can activate Julian's overdrive mode, and have him take care of the Warlock's armor and cover with his Shredder gun. To get rid of the final point of armor, we can then follow that up with a regular shot. Who knows, we might even crit this.
Are your own soldiers so demoralized that you must now rely on the efforts of a machine?
Well, considering that the machine is usually less than reliable, it's not that much of an advantage. Either way, let's follow things up with Mox now, who still has one action left. Up next then, we can jump over to Tsunami and first have her take a Lightning Hands shot.
Let us begin then.
And I think we are very well past the point of beginning. Let's use Rapid Fire now, which actually has a very good chance of taking the Warlock out.
Not too shabby.
Dedicate myself to the Elder's vision. I will take this defeat as a sign that I must elevate myself to a higher stratum.
I'm sure we'll see them again, but that Chosen sure wasn't expecting the fight we put up today, Commander.
Alright, simple as that. The Warlock has been defeated, for the first time actually, but I imagine it won't be the last. Now, at this point, we still have the Shield Bearer down here waiting for us, but that shouldn't be too difficult of a task for Grenadier QT, who still has all of her explosives.
Get ready for a surprise.
And with our target exposed, let's send in Rachel Campbell, the Resistance soldier. With a 94%er, she should be able to do some good work here. Right, I had not expected that, but that's a critical for the kill. A kill that I had actually intended for Van Dyke here, but I suppose that allows him to finish the turn on Overwatch.
Bestätigt. Überwachung läuft.
Alright, the chrysalid is hit for 9 points of damage, but still gets to move in. Thankfully though, it has to dash to do so, which means Julian here can grab himself one last kill to finish the mission.
Status confirmed. Mission accomplished.
And there we are, with our very first landed UFO taken care of. For the first time in this series, we have also officially defeated the Warlock, and we did all of that suffering only one single injury, an injury that we actually had full control over there with the skull mining attempt. So an excellent mission indeed. Let's head back home and find out how long Van Dyke will be out for.
20 years of peace and prosperity will not be undone by the reckless actions of a few misguided dissidents today. We stand with the elders. Trust in their wisdom, and we shall overcome this crisis.
The elders would have us believe that the Chosen are beyond our reach. Immortal children to immortal gods. Both will fall.
Alright, a whopping 20 days here for Van Dyke, despite suffering only 4 points of damage. That certainly hurts, but on the bright side we have a rather unexpected promotion for Tsunami, and at the major rank here I think we have no other choice but to go with steady hands. We are just not hunkering down ever, especially not with her kind of weaponry, but we might have a standstill occasionally. In the loot section then it becomes clear why this was classified as a supply raid. We recover plenty of alloys and Elerium crystals as well as 2 Elerium cores. That gives us plenty to work with and might actually last us for the rest of the game. We also learn here that Tsunami and Van Dyke are ready for bond level 3, but as long as Van Dyke is injured we can't have them level that up, so let us at least do something about the injury time and transfer Baron von H over to the infirmary. At the moment we don't have anything going on in the proving ground anyway, mostly because I am trying to conserve some of those Elerium cores. We will still need a good number of them for some of the later projects in the game. For today though, I think we have reached a good point to make the cut. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. And of course, if you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.